Hello and welcome back to the Cocked Dice. In this week's video, I'm back to converting some Space Marines, and for this guy I'm doing something a little bit special. This is going to be a Death Company captain for obviously the Blood Angel chapter. We've got a bit of a blend of miniatures here. I wanted some kind of fairly ornate armour for this guy. So I'm going to base the legs off a Custode. It's one of the Custodian Guards. We'll do a bit of reshaping, but they should fit pretty well with the new Primaris models. I've grabbed the Primaris chest and backpack mainly to try and tie it back into the rest of the range rather than using all parts from the Custode. Weapon wise, I've gone with the standard captain loadout of a Power Fist and Plasma Pistol. I think that should be pretty good. It's not the most meta friendly combo, but we are only playing 1000 point games generally, and so this guy should sit in an army pretty well. I've grabbed some fairly ornate shoulder pads, so this one's probably the Stern Guard kit, and then I've grabbed a Blood Drop wing piece and a normal shoulder pad for his other arm. That should kind of tighten nicely, give him some fairly ornate upper body armour as well. For his back, I couldn't find a spare Iron Halo, so I'm going to use this pretty cool wing skull, which is from one of the Space Marine Command kits, I believe. And then I've grabbed an assortment of Purity Seals and extra bits and a Blood Angel dagger, which we'll slip on just to tie him into his chapter as we go. So we shall get started. So the first job on tonight's model is really going to be sorting out these legs. Now, the first thing I noticed on this guy is you can see he's got slightly pointed toes, and we'll get rid of that. So we're just going to take a knife and just trim the toes back round and just try and round this off a little bit. Just use the flat of your knife to round it off, and we'll do the same down the front here. Try and make them a little bit more Space Marine like by giving it a rounder surface to it. I'm not going to go back to the second piece. I'm going to leave that in as it is. Just do the very front of them very quickly. Next in this model, I'm going to remove these straps on the side of his leg here. They're very Custode and they don't really fit with the rest of the kind of Space Marine aesthetic, so just a sharp knife. It's out of focus, of course. There we go. Sharp knife, and we're just going to trim up here. Like so, just trim them off very carefully. And then where they meet the rest of the leg here, we're just going to use point your knife to just carve down a little bit. And then we'll come inwards very carefully and just up to that line we cut there. And that should give the shin guards a nice solid line going up this way. So I'm just going to clean this up and do the other one, and we'll be back in a minute. So now comes probably the hardest bit of the conversion, which is going to be blending the two bodies together. Now you've got a couple of options here. You could either just hollow out the bottom of this Marine torso and drop the torso on top. What I'm going to do is actually take this at the belt. So I'm going to take this body, I'm going to cut straight across the belt here. I'm going to cut the belt off the Custode as well. I'm going to drop that on top because I want these thigh panels, because again that will help tie it back into the rest of the Intercessor range. So we'll do the upper body first. We're just going to big knife and very carefully just cut through this without damaging those thigh plates. Now on the back of this model, I'm going to call it bum plates because I've got no idea what I'm going to call it otherwise. The armour at the back of him is moulded onto the legs on the Custodes. So on the Space Marine torso, I'm just going to take a sharp knife and I'm just going to cut that off just underneath the belt, nice and straight, like so, and that barely even needs any tidying up there. That's a nice neat flat line. Now I'm going to cut across the Marine torso here, and you can see the belt is actually a really nice straight line. I'm going to do it with a hobby saw. It's really useful. You could just use a big Stanley knife. I think in this case, because I want to make sure the line's absolutely flat, I just want to get it straight across there. So I'm going to cut just above where his belt line is. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to start making an indent. It's better to cut a little higher than a little lower, just in case. You can see there I'm managing to cut just at the bottom of the belt. And as you can see, we've got a lovely flat line there. You can see I've just risen very slightly as I've gone across, which is a slight problem. So I'm just going to take my knife and just cut down at the front a little bit more, just to even it out a little bit, make sure it's as level as possible. Don't worry about this belt buckle, you're barely going to be able to see it, and we'll probably cover it up with some pouches or other kind of details as we go. Just try and level this out. You can always take a file to the top of this and just level it out that way instead. Let's do a quick test fit. Hope this works now. Look at that, that is just about perfect now. Marine body's actually sitting a little higher, more angular, so I can cut down this front a bit more. So whilst it's starting to fit pretty well there, you can see I'm catching on the thigh plates just on the sides here. So where this lip to the thigh armour is, we're just going to take our knife and just run round the edge of the thigh armour. Just take that kind of slightly outward curved lip back so it's straight with the rest of it. And then with the edge of your side of your blade or a file, you just want to smooth off that thigh plate just to sort of blend it in with the rest of the armour. I'll do the same on the other side now. And you can see we're pretty much there. I'm going to, again, just clean up the inside of this a bit. So I'm going to try and do, because his back's a little higher, I'm just going to trim around this belt. Try and get the belt hanging over a bit more. We've got a pretty good fit there. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think the thigh plates are working very, very well there. Not quite touching the armour, they're just above it. We're going to have a slight gap at the back here, so we'll get some green stuff out. I'll use that to sort of stuff it a little bit, and then we'll clean it up later on. So I get the legs glued together here quickly. We really need to start building some structure up to start so we can put the body on. So put the legs together, bit of glue on there, bit of glue on there, in the middle of a nice big base, cosy captain. I've picked these legs because they're kind of running forwards very slightly, so it should fit in with the rest of the intercessors. Those legs look really stumpy, that's quite entertaining. And then inside the body of the Marine, we're going to get a nice big blob of green stuff. Stuff that inside there, so we can just fiddle with the pose just a little bit. Get him looking the way we want. Now, compare him to a normal intercessor, and he's pretty much the same height there. That's good. I didn't want him overly bigger. I know some people like big characters. Also because it's not wet yet, we've got some twist and we can tip it forwards and backwards. I'm not going to do a huge amount of cleanup here. I'm just going to run a knife around here very quickly. Run a knife on a sculpting tool around there just to level it off. And what we'll do to hide that later, we'll drop some pouches on it and just hide that area there. If you really wanted, you could carry on sculpting up the armour to hit under the belt. I don't think it needs it really. We'll just sneak it off. I tend to. There's loads of ways to hide stuff like this. So this guy needs a plasma pistol. Now, whilst there's plasma pistols within the Primaris range, and you can get plasma pistols within the Assault Intercessors box, I found this one, which is a plasma pistol from Sanguinary Guard kit. It's got these lovely Blood Angel blood drip and wings on it. So that'll be perfect. It's a little smaller, but I honestly don't think that's going to matter. We're going to take this pistol off here. So just again, knife straight across the top here. Nice sharp. It will go through this plastic like butter. No problem at all. And then just cut just behind the ammo cartridge there. Like so. And we should just pop off in a minute. Mind your fingers. There we go. And stick that back in our bits box. For the rest of the hand, we can just clean up the top of this so make sure it's nice and level. That looks pretty good to me. For the Sanguinary Guard arm, I'm literally going to cut across here first to give myself a bit of space to work. Chuck that bit away. And then we just need to cut back. Now, I'm not going to do this in one go. I want to make sure, because I'm cutting onto a slightly rounded side. So I'm going to cut off a chunk. Square off this side like so, and then just work down to just around there like so. I'll clean it up, square it off, make sure I've got all this lip out of it, and then we can stick it on. So just get this guy built up fairly quickly now. We've got his arm. I know it's going to stick out. Oh, hang on, that's sticking. There we go. Shoulder needs to go just above there. Lift it up a bit because I want to be pointing it. There he is. So because his arm's sticking forward and the shoulder pad will be at an angle, I've swapped his shoulder pad out for this one from the command box. It doesn't fit particularly well, but we're just going to drop Vola green stuff inside it, like so. And then we'll drop that on top of his shoulder there, and that will hold it in place nicely, like so. And then we'll get his power fist built up. Okay, now we know which way he's pointing, which way he's walking. I can put his head in. That's kind of one of the key components that starts getting this in. Now I've gone with pretty cool shouty head. Bear in mind he's supposed to be mid Black Rage, racing forward. Dealing with the enemy. And I'll just tip it at a slight angle there. Like so. Let's give him a backpack. So he's coming together pretty nicely now. I'm just going to add a few more details to him and I'll show you the finished product in just a moment. And there we have it. I think we'll christen him, as you say, Brother Captain Paulos the Lost of the Death Company, seeking his end on the field of battle. I want to get him painted up, and if you hang around for a moment or two, you can see what he looks like when he's finished. Thank you and good night. And thanks for joining us here at The Clock Dice. Why not like this video and add a comment below? It really helps boost the channel. And while you're at it, if you click on the icon below, you can subscribe to the channel for all the latest updates as soon as they're live. Why not check out some of our other videos and playlists? You can click on the ones on screen right now. Take care, and we'll see you next time.